This university makes students. Here, students make university. So, with the slogan of Think Big, I, Himanshu Kaushik, your host of the day, would like to welcome you all in today's webinar session on a role of renewable energy resources in Indian power sector. And before we move on and learn a lot more about the renewable energy that we can have, we are joined by our expert here. And before I introduce you all, the expert, I hope that you all are doing good, safe, sound, and happy. So today, please welcome, we are joined by Dr. Sachin Mishra. He is an associate professor from School of Electronics and Electrical Engineering at Lovely Professional University, and he has received his BTech degree in electrical and electronics engineering from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Agra. And he has done his MTech degree in control systems from Faculty of Engineering and JNRN Vyas University. And after that, he has been in IIT Roorkee in 2003, 2007, and 2013 respectively. And he has done his more than 13 years of work experience at various environments include educational and research centers. He has published more than 50 technical research papers in international and national journals, and has always and already been part of conferences and seminars. And his current research interests are renewable energy integration, financial analysis of small hydropower, reliability engineering, modeling of renewable energy systems. And with this, he will be helping us and guiding us through all the process, through all the session today, wherein he will be actually telling us what renewable energy we can use in our own India. So with this, sir, I welcome you in the session here. And I now request you to please take over the screen, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am, for a warm welcome and a small introduction. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, very good afternoon to all. Today, we'll understand what's the role of renewable energy in Indian power sector. Now, before getting into this, we should understand how much power or electrical energy is being generated and how much is it being demand and how much we are in deficit. Then only we will be able to understand the role of renewable energy. Now, if we talk about, first of all, will not moving. Yeah. So if we talk about, first of all, what the Indian power sector look like, so we are having different stages, you can say to be, we are having generation, then we go for transmission, and then we are going for distribution. Whatsoever the electricity you are getting at your home, that is through distribution. So first of all, the power is getting generated at different powerhouses. It may be hydro based, it may be thermal based, it may be nuclear based, or maybe through renewable resources also. So that comes under your generation portion. After that, that power which is generated through the powerhouse, that is getting transmitted through the transmission line. So that is another part of the power sector. Afterwards, what is happening is that is getting stepped down and has been distributed to different consumer. So that portion is called as a distribution. So these are three different companies which are, we call it as Genco, Transco, and Disco, that is distributed company, which combine to form the Indian power sector. So if I had told you that the generation in India, basically, if we talk about the maximum generation, that is about 56 to 60% is through fossil fuel, and rest is being taken care nowadays by renewable resources. So if we talk about the transmission, so we are having the Power Grid Corporation of India Limited, which is taking care of transmitting high voltage to different parts of the country. They are forming the grid. We are having the grids. If you try to understand in very simple language, if I try to explain you what grid is, that is the interconnection of different powerhouses, that means generating houses, then your distribution houses, distribution centers, and the load. So all these combined together form a grid. So The transmission is being taken care by the transmission sector, that is the Power Grid Corporation of India Limited. Further, we are having the distribution. So the distribution sector basically involves the supply of electricity to the consumer. Okay. And after that, we are having electricity excess. The fact is that after having so much of generation, I will come into onto that particular point, how much we are generating. So after having so much, we are having vast generation, around more than 400 gigawatts of generation we are doing. But then also there are some places where the still electricity is, you can say, to be not reliable. That means they are not getting 100% supply. Okay. So for that, the government is also providing different schemes so that they can be self-reliant. Okay. They can form their own power generating unit, like for example, installing solar at the rooftop and generating electricity for their own. After that, we are having to make the things smooth. We are having the policy of initiate incentives. Initiatives are there. Like for example, if you are, very simple example I can give you, which you can understand, that we are having net metering system. That means if you are having a solar panel at the top, so whatsoever the electricity you are consuming, that is consuming the excess electricity, you can give it to the power sector, and you can earn money, or you can have that money reduced in your tariff bill, which you are getting every month or maybe bi-monthly. Then the eighth one is your, say, to be smart grid. So nowadays we are talking about smart grid. First of all, let's understand what smart grid and what simple grid means. If we are introducing some smartness into the grid, like for example, if we are making our grid to communicate, then we are calling, and when I'm saying it to be communicate, that means lot many sensors are would be coming into, what many control techniques would be coming into picture. Okay, so after that, your grid would become smart. It would be able to sense what is happening in the grid, and accordingly it will be taking care. So Indian government are nowadays very much eager, and they are finding out, exploring how to implement the smart grid in different areas. So that is, you can call it as the overview of Indian power sector. So let's talk about how much we are generating. So if you go on to the Central Electricity Authority website, that this comes under the Ministry of Power. So there, if you find out, you will be finding out that we are generating around 411.64 gigawatt of electricity. 411.64 gigawatt of electricity through different resources. It may be hydro, maybe thermal, maybe nuclear, or renewable resources. So that combine all gives about 411.64 gigawatts. And out of this, around 56% contribution is through thermal. Okay, and around 1% or 1.6% is through, you can say, to be nuclear. Rest is through your renewable resources. You can say it to be after 2014, there is a very steep increase in the generation through renewable resources. Now, the fact is, the graph which you are seeing it on your screen, this is showing how much we are deficit. Deficit means the demand is high as compared to our generation. So if you see here, I'm having the graph from March 22 till February 23. So you will be finding out this is all in megawatts. These all are in megawatts. Overall, our deficit is around 0.17%. You can say to me it's not so much high. But if you calculate it with respect to the power which we are generating, you will be finding out it comes around 19,000 gigawatts, around, approximately I'm talking about. Okay, so 19,000 gigawatts of electricity, which we want, that if we want to give the reliable supply to our uh, consumers or citizens, nowadays this is the right of each and every citizen to have reliable electricity. So if we want to have, either we have to switch towards the thermal power plant, or nuclear power plant, or we have to think about the alternatives. So if we are thinking about, say, to be switching towards thermal power plant, so you can understand that the impact onto the environment. Nowadays, people are a lot more talking about global warming. Nowadays, just now, the UN Secretary has said now the era of global warming has ended and the era of global boiling has started. So if we are going towards the thermal power plants, so then we are emitting the greenhouse gases into the environment, adding on to our global boiling. Okay, so nowadays the countries are just watching onto this, that how we can reduce this uh, greenhouse gas emission. So now the question rises is how we can check out, or how we can fulfill this deficit of around, say, to be 15,000 to 19,000 or 20,000 gigawatts of electricity, and how we can provide a reliable supply to the consumers. So one way I had just now talked about thermal power plant or the conventional way of producing electricity. I do agree that the generation would be high in this case, but the emission will also be very much high, which will be contributing to global boiling. So here in this criteria, in this, if we go with, then our renewable energy resources plays a very important role in this case. So what, how we can generate, what are the different renewable resources we are having, and how they will be impacting us. So that we will be starting in this, or that we will be working on in this particular session. So let's check it out. There's some key aspect of, or the roles of renewable resources in Indian power sector. First one is diversification of energy sources. Now, I am telling you that I told you in the starting when I went for the introduction that Indian power sector is basically was dependent upon fossil fuel, your coal, your petroleum products, and all those things, which are depleting nowadays very fastly. And if it has been consumed in such a way, then it may be possible by 2030, the coal beds will be getting exhausted, or you can say to be depleted, and your petroleum products would be getting depleted by 2050. So this renewable energy resources add on the resource of generation of electricity or generation of power into that. Next is your environmental benefit. If you check it out, if you see that if we are going with thermal, again I am repeating that we are adding on to the global boiling. So if we are talking about renewable resources, whatsoever the renewable resources you think about, you will be finding it out that we are not adding any type of uh, greenhouse gases into the environment, or if by chance if it has been getting emitted, because in some cases there is an emission, but that would be very, you can say to be almost negligible with respect to what we will be emitting in case of thermal power plant. Next is the reduction to the air pollution. So when we are talking about environmental benefits, so the reduction to the air pollution is coming into. Next is your rural electrification. So your renewable energy resources plays a very important role when we are talking about rural electrification. When I think so in the year 2007 or maybe in 2009, the definition of the rural electrification was that if in the premises of the rural area, if one of the bulb is glowing, then that village was been called as electrified. But after 2014 or maybe 2013, this definition was changed by Government of India and was being said that if one bulb is glowing in at an average, one bulb is glowing in each and every house, then only that village will be called as, or area would be called as electrified. And as you know, the geography of India, max, you will be finding out that if you go with Jammu Kashmir, then Himachal, then Uttarakhand, then you go into the northeast portion and some parts of other parts of India, you will be finding out these are all mountainous areas. So it becomes very much difficult for the grid to reach to each and every village. Okay. So in that case, renewable energy plays a very important role that you can go with a islanded mode, okay, for the generation of electricity, or you can say to be the off-grid mode. Okay, leave islanded mode. You can go with the off-grid that where the grid is not there, then also the electricity is getting generated. In that case, the solar, wind, hydro, or maybe biomass will play a very important role are playing also very important role in providing electricity and reliable electricity. Now, if we talk about job creation and economic growth, so in one of the article in Times of India, I read that by 2030 there will be 3 million jobs in case of power sector, and that too with respect to renewable resources and economic growth. So you can understand that the development of any of the place, state, or a country basically depend upon transportation and the power. If you are having good transportation and if you are having good power supply, then the economic growth is there. So next is your energy independence. That means you will be totally I'm not saying that you will be fully independent from the fossil fuel. I will be saying it to be partially independent from the fossil fuel requirement. Okay, then we are having grid stability and flexibility. That if we are able, this is very important thing we will be talking about in this thing in the last slide, that if we are able to integrate the renewable energy resources, so to with our conventional one, then in that case the reliability and the flexibility would be more effective as compared to nowadays. And very much advanced technologies are coming into pictures, such as you can say to be power storage devices, maybe your batteries, maybe your fuel cells, supercapacitors. There are a lot many power storage devices which are coming into picture, and combining with the smartness, you can say to be, which will add on to the smart grid. Next is the government initiatives and policy. If you would have heard about that, if you are going for installing a solar power panel onto your rooftop at your house, in that case the government, different state governments, maybe the central government, they are providing incentives. Okay, incentives in terms of subsidies. Okay, so it may be possible that the full installation of the panel may cost, say, for example, it to be 50,000. In that, the consumer is being asked to pay hardly 20 or 25,000, 50% or 60%. Rest, the government take care of it. So that are the government initiatives and the policies which are coming. And you can understand national solar mission. Okay, wind power policy. These are some of the policies which are there, which are the initiative which has been taken by the government to what should I say, to increase the generation through renewable resources. Then is cost competitiveness. That means if we are having renewable resources, so previously there was a myth that solar and wind, the power generated through solar and wind are very high. But nowadays, with the changing technologies, with the advancement in technologies, what is happening is now the generation cost of solar and wind is decreasing considerably. Okay. And in some cases, your renewable energy resources have become cost competitive with conventional fossil fuel base, making them an attractive option. Okay. Last one is global leadership and collaboration. So Indian community are working with different renowned labs. One is your NREL, that is National Renewable Energy Laboratory. So maximum of our Indian scientists They are collaborating with them. They are collaborating with different countries to just enhance either the efficiency or to reduce the cost, working onto the material, or you can say it to be for the advancement of technology, so that the competitiveness of renewable energy resource would be much higher. So what are the different renewable energy sources which are present in case of our country, that is India? We are having about 4 or 5 different renewable energy sources. One is your solar, next is your wind, hydropower, biomass. And in some cases, I'm saying it to be in some cases, you will be finding out geothermal. Geothermal is very much less. And tidal also, it is very much less. It is there onto the seashores. You can find it out, but it is also very less. But if we talk about the abundant renewable energy resources, in that case, our solar energy, that is too much. Okay, you can see it, you can find out solar energy everywhere. Just what you have to work on is that you have to find out the insolation or the radiations which are coming to that particular area, and accordingly you can decide how much power you can generate. So we are having the government of India has launched National Solar Mission, which is aiming to achieve 100 gigawatts of solar plant capacity by 2022 and more. That means about 450 gigawatts by 2030. There is very much interesting fact now I would like to tell you that if you go on to Ministry of New and Renewable Energy Resource website around maybe 10 years back, you will be finding out that the solar excuse me, solar capacity was not competing with wind. Previously, the generation through wind was more as compared to the solar. But nowadays, if you are going by 2023, what you will be finding out that solar has left the wind way back, way behind. Now, the maximum renewable energy resource participation, or the percentage you can call it, is from the solar only. The reason behind is that first one is the initiatives which the government is taking. Like I had given you one example also. Another one is the flexibility of the solar, that your solar can be installed anywhere. Just the requirement is that big buildings, trees, all these things should not mean, you can say to be no obstacle should be there onto the panel. Next is your wind. So wind potential basically exists onto the coastal areas, you can say to be, or maybe onto the western coast, or you can say parts of northern plain, or in some hilly regions. Now I'm saying it to be northern plains, so you will be finding out that in Rajasthan, you can find out in Jaisalmer, Bardmer area, you will be finding out lot more solar farms are there of Suzlon. You can. This is one of the company which has set up the wind farms there. And maximum, if you go on to the western coast, uh, maybe on the Mumbai side or something like that, so you will be finding out the wind generation through wind farms. Okay, or hilly region. So if we talk about India has more significant progress in wind energy with a target of 60 watts, 60 gigawatts in 2022 and 140 gigawatts by 2030. And I would like to tell you is that India stands on the 5th position when we are talking about generation of electricity through wind. Power plants. So basically, hydropower plants, now you understand what solar is, what your wind is. If I talk about hydropower plants, basically generation of electricity through water. Okay. So, and as you know, that India is having hilly regions also, and we are having tremendous water bodies in our country. So, there is so hydropower plant. You can see that you will be having a lot more hydropower plants nearby the water bodies. But the fact is that we have to find out the head. Head means the difference between the, you can say to be the fall. Okay. So we are having large hydropower plants, small hydropower plants, mini, micro, pico, and others also, depending upon the capacity of the power plants. Next is your biomass. Now, when I am talking about biomass, I am talking about the dungs, like cow dungs and all those things, animal, you can say to be the animal excreta. And I'm talking about the dry leaves because we are having a good agriculture area, we are having the forest area. So dry leaves, all these things comes under your biomass. So I will give you a very good example of biomass, the usage of biomass. That is in case of sugar park, sugar plants, uh, sugar industry, I should say it to be. So what they are having their own powerhouse. We call it as captive power. So what we are having is that they are using the sugar cane, they are extracting the juice, and then the husk which is being left, the leftover. So what they are doing is they are drying it and then they are using it as a fuel for boiling water for the boilers. Okay, so they are not using any coal. Okay, they are using husk, and we call the carbon which is being emitted from that particular husk, we call it as neutral carbon. The reason behind is that that particular carbon has to be emitted into the environment, either through decomposition or either through burning. In case of burning, what happens is that carbon is getting released very quickly, whereas through decomposition, it will take time to get into the environment. Okay, therefore, we are not saying that biomass is or burning of husk or burning of leaf, dry leaves, or say to be branches, the dry branches, they are polluting the environment. The reason behind is that carbon has to be emitted either through decomposition or by burning. Now, these are different government initiatives and policy to renewable energy resources. The fact is that I told you that by 2030, it may be possible that the coal beds would be getting exhausted or getting depleted, and by 2050, the petroleum. This is one of the in one of the article it has been said. So, if we want to safeguard those resources, coal or maybe petroleum, for our future generation, so we have to switch over towards the different other resources, that is renewable resources what we are talking about, and to promote, to make them more fascinating, to make them more popular into the uh, population or to the community. The government of India are taking different initiatives or policies they are making, so that the people or the citizen of our country should move towards renewable resources. One is your national solar mission. This was launched in 2010. So, and I told you the main aim of national solar mission is to achieve 100 gigawatt of electricity through solar only by 2022, or by uh, the later increased. Actually, the target was increased to 175 because this 100 gigawatt was being achieved very quickly. So it was being changed to 175 gigawatt. Next is your national wind energy mission, same as that of your solar. We are having wind energy mission, and we are targeting about 60 gigawatt of wind energy by 2022. And the mission basically focused on promoting domestic manufacturing of wind turbines. Okay, domestic means nowadays we are government of India is talking about making India, made in India. So basic focus of your national wind energy mission is to have the turbine, because the turbines, because generators are not self starting, so we are using external source to turn the generator, to move the generator. So for that we are using turbines, and in maximum cases the turbines are getting imported, so from other countries. So the main mission for national wind energy, at least for wind energy, the turbine should be made in home, in house. Next is your green energy corridors. You would have heard about green energy corridors. Basically, to address the intermittency of renewable energy resources and facilitates their integration into grid. Okay, so government is developing transmission infrastructure for efficient transfer of renewable energy power for resources reasons. That means if I am having, if say for example, I am staying in Himachal or maybe in Uttarakhand, so we would be having tremendous hydropower. Okay, but if I go to Rajasthan area or maybe some other area where the hydropower plant is not available, so that energy can be transferred to the through grid to the those particular areas. Similarly, Rajasthan is having abundant of wind power and solar, so that can be transferred to other parts. So that is the green energy corridor which the government has started. Next is renewable purchase obligation. We call it as RPOs. Okay, so this policy is mandates power distribution. What this policy says is that a particular portion of electricity has to be distributed by the distribution company which is being generated through renewable resources. They had to purchase those power which is being generated through renewable resources. So that this particular policy is working on to that. Next is competitive bidding. So what this competitive bidding is that for allocation of renewable energy project, government has started with competitive bidding. Okay. Now what this has done is this approach has led to a significant reduction in tariff, increased transparency and improved project implementation. Okay. Next is Saubhagya scheme. So just now I was talking about the solar. So this government of India is more focused onto renewable schemes, and onto that Saubhagya scheme is one of them. Next is faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. Nowadays, you might be hearing about electric vehicles, maybe from Tesla, maybe from Tata, Hyundai. Every company is making electric vehicles. The reason behind is that the depletion of petroleum products. So, just to safeguard that, the government has given the policy that FAME scheme. Okay. So, what will happen is that while not directly related to power generation, this is not directly related to power generation, but it is related to our renewable resources. We are talking about that if we want to develop, the transportation has to be strong. Okay, if we are talking about transportation, then one thing what click into our mind is the petroleum or diesel based transportation. So we can shift towards the electrical based transportation to reduce the dependency onto fossil. So this particular scheme basically focus on that. Next is energy efficiency program. So basically we are talking about how to build energy efficient components, how to build energy efficient system so that we can reduce the energy consumption. Like for example, I will be giving you one very small example. Previously, around 20 or 25 years back, we were using incandescent lamp, okay, which was around 40 watts or 60 watt. After that, with the advancement in the technology, we moved towards fluorescent tubes. After that, CFL, that is compact fluorescent tube. Nowadays, we are using LED. The illumination which was being given by a 60 watt lamp now is being given by a 9 watt LED. So that means the consumption has reduced. So that also play a very important role where we can have an effective and efficient use of electricity. Next is bioenergy mission. So I talked about biomass. So this particular mission is basically related to how we can utilize biomass for the generation of electricity, maybe for transportation, maybe for, you would have heard about biogas plants. Okay, so we can utilize that biogas plant for cooking and for generation of electricity also. Okay, Next is your hydrogen energy mission. So maybe I don't know whether you would have read or not that nowadays the maximum of the transportation companies like Tata and all those, they are putting a lot more investment onto the hydrogen energy. Basically, this hydrogen energy is what you can say to be fuel cell, hydrogen based. In your cathode or anode may be hydrogen and oxygen, and the byproduct which is being left is water, which is not dangerous for the environment. Whereas if we talk about petroleum, in that case, the byproducts are SOx, maybe NOx. These are all greenhouse gases which are emitted into the environment. So a lot more work is going on in case of hydrogen energy. Next is International Solar Alliance. So India co-founded this IAS with France, aiming to the mobilize international support to the solar energy development. So these are different solar energy initiatives which the government of India has taken into. So some of the key points about solar energy in India is one is your solar energy mission. Just now we had talked about. Next is grid connected solar plants. So if you get an opportunity to visit lovely professional industry, you will be finding it out that we are having grid connected solar plants here. One is of I think so 100 megawatt, sorry, kilowatt. Two are of one is of 1 megawatt and one is around 1 or 1.5 megawatt. So all are grid connected solar plants. Next is solar parks. Basically, the development of parks has been a major focus, which enables the large scale development of solar projects. These parks you will be finding out in educational institute or maybe in the research places where you can understand what solar energy is, how we can generate, and how it is affecting our uh, environment. Next is your rooftop solar. Now, this is very important aspect of solar, that your solar can be installed anywhere, maybe onto the rooftop. If you think about installing a wind power plant or yes, wind power plant or a single wind turbine, so it becomes very difficult. Whereas hydro is next to impossible with respect to rooftop or something like that nearby the home. But in case of solar, it is very easy. Just you have to take the panel and you have to install onto the rooftop. And there is one video onto the YouTube by Tesla, they are having solar village. If you type solar village Tesla, so you will be getting one video where you will be finding it out that that particular company, that is Elon Musk company, what they had done is they had developed a solar village. That means each and every house is generating electricity to solar. Now, the thing which will be coming into our mind is the solar panel would be there onto the top. That is there. Second thing is that their window pans, the glass pans which we are having, window pans, they are also being made through solar panels. Okay, so each and every part of the house is generating electricity, and those people who are staying there, they are consuming electricity from there, and rest is being given to the national grid. Second is competitive bidding. So if competitive bidding, had explained you. Let's move to the another point, that is solar manufacturing. Nowadays we are talking about make in India, made in India, and there is a solar manufacturing unit being placed in Tamil Nadu by Adani Groups. Okay, so that means nowadays in government of India is also focusing upon. Previously, what we were doing, we were just uh, getting the solar panel from different country, maybe from Taiwan, from China, or some other, and then we were using it. So the cost of the solar generation was too high due to this only. Okay, but nowadays, due to make in India and made in India, the cost of the solar panel is decreasing. Next is your international solar, as we had talked about, that government of India has alliance with France so that the technology can be transferred okay, or the researchers from both the country can work and could reach to one of advanced technology which can give a reliable supply with low cost. Next is your solar energy policy and regulation. So I had explained you that there are different policies through which you can understand that if you are placing the solar panel on the rooftop, the government is providing subsidy onto the installation. Secondly, that if you are giving the generated electricity to the grid, so you are getting reduced tariff bill, or you are getting the cost of the electricity which you have given into the grid. Next is the challenges. So there are a lot more challenges which are there when we are talking with respect to solar, or we are talking with respect to renewable resources. So basically, the challenge, the biggest challenge, or you can call it as uh, the area of research which till now has not been, what should I say, to be explored. I should not use the word explore because not many people are working on that. But concrete results has not been got is the intermittency. What this intermittency is? That is, you can say, to be reliable uh, supply. Like for example, solar. You cannot say how much insulation you will be getting in a particular time duration. So it may be possible that just now we are having the solar, we are having the sun, and after some time there might be some clouds. So generation won't be there, or maybe the level of intensity is not so high. So that is called as intermittency. Same with wind case, same with hydro case. Okay, so that is called an intermittency. Nobody can just till now nobody is able to talk about or predict. The predict word will be good. That predict what would be the generation through the renewable energy resources. Next is your grid integration. This is also a very big issue, and onto this, lot many research has been done, and it is still going on. Then how we can integrate renewable energy resources with our grid? Because it creates very much problem. I will not be going into high technical, very large technical words, but the interconnection, or yeah, you can say to be integration of renewable energy resources with the grid is little bit tricky. Okay, and still we are lagging behind. Second is land availability. As you know, the population is increasing, so the availability of land is also plays a very important role. Next is financing. So if I talk about hydropower plant, so around 50,000 rupees per kilowatt, you can say to be, would be the cost of installation. Around, very approximately, I'm saying maybe 1 lakh, you can say per kilowatt. I am talking about. So if I want to generate 1 megawatt, you can calculate how much it would be costing. So the financing also plays a very important. So in that case also, the government of India is taking initiative and providing subsidies so that the private finances, private companies should get into involved for the generation of electricity. Next is environmental benefit. The generation through renewable, maybe through solar energy, maybe through wind, maybe through hydro, maybe through biomass. They are emitting very, or you can say negligible amount of greenhouse gas into the environment. So environmental benefits also there. So same with the wind. So the installation capacity as on September 21 was 38 gigawatts. And if you talk about 2023, it has reached to around 48 gigawatts. So there are different policies and regulation in case of wind energy also. So Indian government, I'm talking about those resources which are playing very important role in the Indian power sector. I will not be talking about geothermal. I will not be talking about tidal. because they are not so much significant. Their role is not so much significant in case of Indian power sector. So I will be talking about solar, I will be talking about wind, I will be talking about hydro, and little bit about biomass. So targets and ambition. So India has set an ambition target of renewable energy resources, including wind power. So we are trying to achieve 60 gigawatt by 2022 or 140 gigawatt by 2030. Okay, so these are the target and the ambition of government of India to achieve. Now, why we are setting the target and the ambition is there so that our dependency on fossil fuel should reduce as much as possible. And as you know, wind resources, I told you that they are very much at the western coast, some northern plains, like western coast, I am talking about maybe your Tamil Nadu, your Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, and northern plains like Rajasthan. Okay, so if you check it out onto the uh, Google, you will be finding out that just now, previously Jaisalmer was the place where the wind energy was too much still also. Okay, so you can check it out where the maximum wind energy is generated. Next is wind farms and projects. So wind farms and projects are spread across the various states of India. So these can be small scale installation or maybe large scale. Manufacturing and technology. So India, it is promoting to manufacture the wind turbine in India only, so that it will be creating the jobs. Secondly, it will be reducing the cost of installation also. Now, if we talk about hydro, so by September 21, the capacity was 45 to 50, which has increased beyond 60 gigawatts in case of 2023. Okay, diverse projects. Now, the fact is that we are having small scale hydropower plants, large scale hydropower plants, medium. When I'm saying to be large scale, it is above 25, according to definition of definition with respect to India only. If it is above 25 megawatts, we counted it in large scale. Whereas if it is below or it is in between 2 megawatts to 25 megawatts, it comes under small. If it is in between one, you can say to be 100 kilowatt to 1 megawatt, then it comes under your mini and so on, micro and pico. So as you know that India is having lot more water bodies, so major rivers are there, which you can find it out in Himachal, in Uttarakhand, Arunachal, Sikkim. So if you see the names of the state, you will be finding out that these are all hilly regions. Even though in the plain area also you can have hydropower plant, basically onto the canal, okay, onto the canal or maybe onto the dam. We call it as canal based or dam. Okay, policy and initiatives. Basically, government of India has made the policy that if any of the private sector is willing to install a hydropower plant, they had to get the NOC from the Department of Hydro and Renewable Energy, IIT Roorkee. And after that, once the NOC is there from that particular department, the government of India is giving huge subsidy to that particular private sector. So nowadays, lot more small hydro or mini hydropower plants are being installed by the private sectors. If you go into Himachal or maybe Uttarakhand or maybe Northeast, you will be finding a lot many private sector are contributing to the installation of hydropower plants. Benefits, the same, the benefit for each and every renewable energy resource remains the same. That less greenhouse gas emission, less effect to the environment. So we are talking about biomass. So as I told you that we are an agricultural country. So the biomass is abundant. We are having forest area also. We are agriculture industry. So our agriculture industry is very vast. So you can say it to be that biomass is very much abundant in case of India. Okay, so biomass production of sorry biogas production. So biogas plants are installed in different parts of country to give you uh, say to be energy for cooking and for the generation of electricity. So we are using biogas plants for that. Another is your biomass power generation. So biomass can be used for power generation through various technology. I had given you one example of sugarcane industry, which is using the byproduct of the sugarcane. We are having biofuels nowadays. Our transport minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, he is too much focusing onto biofuels. He is talking about that if we are able to mix the ethanol with the uh, existing petroleum, then the dependency onto the petroleum will decrease considerably. National policy incentives, initiatives. So the Indian government has implemented various policies and incentives initiatives to promote biomass. So national policy on biofuel is there, which is aiming what I was talking about, aiming to increase the percentage of biofuel in transportation, while national biomass cook stores initiative focus in distributing improved cook stove to reduce indoor air pollutions. Now, there are different challenges and the solutions also. When we are talking about renewable energy resources, we are having very big challenge of intermittency, which I was talking about, like solar, wind. They are having an intermittent behavior that nobody can predict what, how much wind you will be having, velocity you would be having, what, how much irradiance, or you can say how much insolation you will be getting it from the solar. So that means we are totally dependent upon weather. There is no technology which can predict
Um, Sir, I
the next is your high initial cost. So if we are talking about the installation cost, so and we are getting the material from the outer from different country like solar panel, we are getting it from Taiwan, maybe from China. So the cost of installation increases, thereby the initial cost increases. Similarly, for case of wind also, similarly in case of hydro also. But if if we are going with the policy and initiatives which are being taken by government of India, and we are manufacturing the panels, solar panels, maybe the turbine, maybe for wind, maybe for hydro, in-house, or maybe in-house means in our country through Make in India or Made in India, the cost, the initial cost will reduce. That is a solution for this. Next is grid integration. So I told you it is a very challenging task to integrate the renewable resources with the grid. Actually, when we are integrating, when we are synchronizing, we have to keep it in mind the level of the voltage, then the frequency. Main issue is with the frequency. We have to control the frequency and the fluctuating voltage. So for that, smart grid technology that enables better monitoring, control, and coordination of energy. That means the energy smart grid will be a very important role changing, you can say it to be, when we are talking about grid integration. Next is land and resource using. So as you can see that population is increasing, so land availability is becoming a very big issue. So what we can do is that we can use the land optimally. That means we should not leave a small square meter of land also, and you can utilize for solar, and there only you can have wind. If wind is available, you can have wind also. Okay. Next is energy transmission and workforce. So transmission from fossil fuel to renewable energy sources can lead to workforce displacement in certain industries. So the solution which has been given is that the governments and industries should invest in retraining and reskilling programs to help workers trans, uh, transits transition from traditional energy sector to, that means how we can change our mindset from our conventional to the new technology. Every time this has been done at your schools also, at your home also, you might be finding it out that we are transiting from old technology to the new technology. Okay. Previously, we were having desktops, having XP, XT, and all those type of processors. After that, P1, P2, P3 came into picture. We moved to that, and nowadays we are having i5, i7, that type of processors. So with advancement in technology, we are moving ahead. So that is also very important. For that, we have to educate the people, the workforce, to transit from older technology to newer technology. So what are the benefits we had talked about? That is reduced greenhouse gas emission, energy security is that means reliable supply will be getting, job creation I had talked about, cost competitiveness will be there. That means the cost would be reducing. Next is your rural development, that as electricity will be reaching, the development would be very much high. And in the future outlook, if we talk about ambitious renewable energy targets are there, we had talked about in between. Then favorable policy environments, that government of India is every time framing new and other policy to promote renewable energy. Declining cost, that means with the new technology advancement, the initial cost is reducing. Just now I had talked about solar and wind. Then private sector participation, the government is providing initiatives, subsidies and all those to attract the private sector to get into this. Like for example, Adani is having solar farm in Tamil Nadu also, in Rajasthan also. So Adani is acting like a private sector and he is installing. Similarly, other sectors are, Suzlon is there, that is also a private one, that is getting into for the wind farm in case of Rajasthan. Energy storage solution. So as the penetration of intermittent renewable energy sources like solar and wind increases, the increase of energy storage solution becomes more critical or crucial, you can say it to be. So battery technologies are making it like feasible. That means storage technology, you can say it to be. So storage will be required if we want that renewable energy should get into our generation portion. Technology advancement. So we are getting into touch with the other countries, outer countries. There are a lot many research going on, development going on to improve the efficiency of the solar panel. Still, the efficiency of solar panel is around 20 to 26%. Okay. Then decentralized energy system. Decentralized energy system, you can say it to be like rooftop installation and mini grid. So they are becoming very popular in India. Okay. Next is international collaboration. So I had talked about a lot more international collaboration like NREL. We are having lot many researchers are working with. Indian government has made the collaboration with France to share the best practices, knowledge, and technology in renewable sector. Climate change mitigation. So if we are going with the renewable energy resources, this global warming or global boiling would be getting reduced. That is damn sure. Then job creation, I had talked about that there is lot more opportunity when we are talking about job opportunity or job creation when the renewable energy sources. Just now I talked about that by 2030 there will be 3 million jobs in case of renewable energy sector only. But the fact is, after having all these discussions, yes, there are lot many challenges which has to be addressed uh, by the researcher, or maybe by the government of India, by making right policies, investments, and technology advancement to transmit a clean or more sustainable energy for future dominant by renewable resources. Thank you. If you are having any query, please go ahead and ask. I had tried to complete within an hour. Sorry for that internet glitch.
So thank you so much, first of all, for giving this presentation. And so while I was listening to this presentation, there was one suggestion, rather a question was coming in my mind. So would it be possible if we use all of these renewable energy in vehicles also? For example, we're using electric vehicles, right? We're using a lithium or lead battery. So can we use battery that can be charged from using these renewable energy?
Uh, if you would had been here when Indian Science Congress was held, so at that time our university, Lovely Professional University, has demonstrated one solar based vehicle.
Okay.
So in that case, and lot many works are going on. If you there is one article in which Germany has installed solar panels to energize electric locomotives. Okay,
Oh,
so you can say to be by that way also we are using renewable energy resources for transportation. So
right.
that is one of the way.
Sir, can you please clarify, like, for how long has this research been going on? So basically, we've been hearing all of these renewable energy. Like when I was in the school, also I was also hearing like renewable energy. We can use that, but till now it's almost 10, 12 years. We do not see that significant what you say use of this particular thing. So if there's
So sorry, I will interrupt you here. The
yeah, yeah.
reason behind is that by 2011 or 12, there was not a significant change which you can see in case of renewable energy. Uh,
Okay.
I am talking with respect to electricity generation. But
Right.
if you see now the participation of renewable energy, if we go with the percentage wise, uh, by 2011 or 12, the percentage of fossil fuel was around 70%. Okay, and 30% was your nuclear and renewable energy. But now it has decreased to around 50 to 56%. That means now significant change. There is a steep increase in the generation of electricity through renewable energy. And secondly, as you can see that the fossil fuel are depleting, and I told in the this slide also when I was going with the presentation, with one of the article, if we go with the one of the article, it is said that our coal belt will be getting exhausted by 2030 and our petroleum by 2050. So if we want to keep these resources for our future, we have to work on to the renewable. So this made the researcher to think about renewable, and they are working on to day night. They are working to make renewable energy much more interesting, much more easy for the use for the common people.
Yeah, I definitely wish also that maybe in near future we will be seeing a lot of usage of this particular not this particular, all the renewable energies. And
Now I came to just sorry, ma'am. One more example. If you talk about Norway, in Norway,
yeah,
99% of the electricity is being generated through hydro. 99%. That is
that's
renewable energy.
right.
Maybe
So
possible in future, India would be also achieving that thing.
yeah, sir, I think there's one news that I was hearing, around 50 or 60% of Gujarat has been already equipped with the solar panels. Is that correct? Is
Exactly.
that right? Right. So I think that is where we're leading in the solar energy and
So one of the river has been what should I say, covered by solar panels. River.
river. Okay. So I think, sir, maybe in like next 2 3 years we will be seeing a lot of influx of all these energies and the usage of the same.
Exactly,
And
ma'am. Hopefully, we will also.
right. And so I wish you all the best with your research as well. And all the students who come in here, who get the guidance of yours, I wish them well. And may you succeed so that India succeeds. And with this, sir, I would want to say thank you for joining us here
Thank
and
you, ma'am.
giving your valuable time.
Thank you,
Yeah.
ma'am. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure was all ours to hear this insightful topic. And with this, sir, I now take your permission to wrap this session up. Shall I?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining, sir. And if any attendee had any like if they've missed any part, this session will be uploaded on YouTube as well. So you can just rewatch the session there. And with this, I take your leave. So maybe we meet physically in the university, and if not, then surely we're gonna meet in the next session, next webinar. And until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you, ma'am.